Hey guys, it's Jasmine and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be two Christmas cards actually in my Handmade Christmas series for 2017. I've got two in this video because I'm missing some footage, so I decided to combine them into one, and the way I did them was pretty much the same, just the file details are a little bit different. So we're going to start off with a piece of Bristol Smooth cardstock, and I've die cut that using Avery L. Wonky Stitches die. And we're going to use the Concord 9th Cozy Up stamp set and matching die set. We're going to use the Warm and Cozy and that wood grain heart shape in this one. I'm going to start with the Warm and Cozy. I'm going to heat emboss those using some liquid platinum embossing powder from Ranger and my Misty. And whenever you're heat embossing, if you have trouble with it, make sure your gun is good and hot. So you want to turn it on, let it run for 30 to 60 seconds so it's good and hot. And that way you're going to apply more heat for less time. So you're going to warp your cardstock less or sometimes avoid it altogether. And as soon as you see it transition from dry and grainy to smooth and shiny, move your gun. That'll happen really quickly. This is sped up, but generally heat embossing happens really fast and you don't need to leave it on there for a long time. So now we're going to move to the heart shape die or stamp, excuse me, and we're going to use some Altenew inks, and I'm going to use, let's see, caramel toffee, dark chocolate, and paper bag. And I'm using 3 different brown tones because I wanted to give this a warm wood tone but variegate the color a little bit. So you can use any brown tones you have for this. You don't have to use these specific colors. I just wanted to really give this a warm and cozy feel. So I'm starting with the lightest brown, going to the darkest brown, and just kind of randomly adding color. There's nothing too complicated or specific about it. Let's stamp that down. And using the Misty for this really kind of gives you some confidence that you can do it. And if you do miss a spot or you want to go over to get a different color, you can do that without worrying about messing up the whole thing. So now I've got some distress ink, some just regular distress ink. This is antique linen. So these are the originals, not the oxides. And I've taken the die and die cut a negative space template so that I don't get any brown ink outside the heart shape. And then I'm taking the actual die cut, the heart shape itself, and I'm going to use a little bit of repositionable adhesive on the back. And I'm going to kind of tack it with my finger so it loses some of its stickiness so I can take it back up easily later on. Kind of put that down over the stamp shape, and then I'm going to go in with Candied Apple Distress Oxide ink and ink blend over the top. Now this one is different from the original distress inks. They have some of the same properties, but the difference is this is a hybrid between pigment and dye ink. So it makes it just like spreading warm butter on bread to blend these inks onto paper. It just goes on so easily, evenly, smoothly. These are the best for ink blending. So easy. And you can layer these so that if you want a darker tone, richer tone, just kind of keep adding on top and it gets more opaque as you go. And this is sped up, but it probably only took me a minute, like literally 60 seconds, to add the first layer of candied apple on top. We're going to fix that little missing piece later. So just take a paper towel and I'm kind of lifting up any ink that got on top of the embossing. And now I'm going to go in with, and this is the second version of this card. So again, forgive me, I've got some missing footage in here, so I kind of had to piece it together. What I'm doing is I've got a Tim Holtz Nordic stencil. I think that's what it's called. Let me look. Holiday Knit stencil. And I'm going in with some Ruby Red Altenew ink. This is a dye ink. So you can see that you can layer dye inks on top of the Distress Oxides without a problem. And I'm going to add that Ruby Red through the stencil on top of the Candied Apple Red. And it just gives it a deeper, more intense red pattern. And it looks really cool. And when you have the delicate stencil like this, it helps to pounce it on versus rub it or in a circular motion like your ink blending, to avoid getting the stencil to move or damaging it, which I have done. You can either do little twisty motions like I'm doing or pounce it on. And when I'm on the edge of that white heart piece, I do dig in just a little bit more so I can make sure I don't have a super visible edge. And finishing up that pattern. And so we're back to the first version. And what I've done off camera was add some snowflakes from the Joy stamp set with some silver pearl embossing powder and Versamark. Just kind of randomly. And then I'm going to finish this one up using some Little Things pearl and white sequins. And then I'm also going to use some wood veneer paper and the Simon Says Stamp Merry Christmas die with Stick It on the back. And you'll see that in just a second. And so right there, I've got that star, that little piece of embossing got kind of peeled up. I just put a sequin on top and you can't even tell. So if that happens to you, bust out your sequins. It's all good. So now I'm adding on my Merry Christmas die cut. And this is bark wood veneer paper, and then stick it on the back before you die cut. And stick adhesive is a sheet adhesive, but it's super thin, so it die cuts beautifully. And then for the version with the stenciling on it, I used the same die with some white velvet cardstock and skipped the sequins to avoid making it too busy. And then I've got pictures of both of these cards at the end of the footage as well. So you kind of get a look at how that went together. Everything is going to be listed and linked over on the blog post that goes with this video if you're interested in exactly what I used. So yeah, I've got 2 cards in one video. Kind of made the best of some footage gremlins. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. I hope you guys have an awesome Christmas. I hope you have time to create and enjoy family. And we will catch you guys in the next one. Have a Merry Christmas and a wonderful day. Bye.